I'm happy today to introduce to you Peter Murphy Lewis. He is a storyteller at heart. He's also the founder of Strategic Pete, a company focused on fractional CMO service. He's followed his curiosity about people and their stories by hosting TV shows in South America, producing the docuseries titled People Worth Caring About, which is available on YouTube, and becoming a certified nurse associate to better understand the caregiving world. Peter fostered conversations with leaders in long-term care, exposing the challenges and opportunities facing this industry. Let's talk more about the docuseries, People Worth Caring About. How did this get started, Peter?
People Worth Caring About started when I was working for a electronic healthcare records software company, and I was at a convention in Nebraska. And I met with one of the board members, and I said, I've been doing a certain type of TV show for the last 7 or 8 years where I try to tell somebody's story and passion for life through their job. And I've done that in South America. I've done it in Spanish. I've done three TV seasons with that format. And I said, what if we take that format that I've done in South America and do it for the caregivers in the long-term care space? And the board member said, this is great. Let's talk to the president and the CEO. We pitched it to her, and I don't think we had more than 2 or 3 phone calls. It was less than 3 hours of talks, and she said, "Let's do this." She trusted me, and it turned into the dream turned into a docu-series that turned into lots of press and making an impact. So it was a beautiful kind of organic birth of something that was never planned.
I think the whole world of caregiving has been so under-recognized and needs attention and needs praise, So I'm very grateful that you developed that docuseries. So you decided for it to become a movement to spotlight the unsung heroes in caregiving. Bless you for doing that. And
But
when I sent out this invitation for people to share their caregiving experience, I have been shocked at the number of responses I've had. There's so many caregivers out there that don't have a chance to tell their story. Would you explain what is a fractional CMO service?
Sure. Fractional Chief Marketing Officer is a perfect fit for companies that have been working with too many marketing agencies and they need someone to oversee that strategy. The way that I had a client describe the service, why they hire me, is they said, I get 100% of Peter's experience as a Chief Marketing Officer at a fraction of the cost. So I hire Peter for Mondays and Tuesdays, but all of his expertise of 20 years of marketing. So it's a newish role that has come from a consultant, but is actually responsible for the goals agreed upon between the executive team and the chief marketing officer.
Sounds wonderful. You use a lot of acronyms in your article, and some of them I didn't know what they stood for, so I appreciate hearing the
Yeah.
definition. You mentioned that your biggest lesson is that you don't need all the answers. Being there, showing up, listening, and supporting someone is more powerful than trying to fix everything. We human beings, our instinct is to try to fix whatever is hurting, and that often isn't what's needed. So tell me what you've learned about making emotional connections.
Well, on my way to answering emotional connections, kind of learning to not try to fix everything is, sometimes I think traditionally we might have referred to that as a masculine trait, but as I've gotten older, I think that it's oftentimes an American trait, and I see that in long-term care, right? Like the way that we approach aging is try to make people look younger. We try to take away people's pain. We try to make sure that we don't, that we pick up their food for them, and we put rather, you need to teach people to also be autonomous and also embrace this aging process. And that's just an extension of being okay with not always having the answers, right? That lesson I learned from a mentor, a very important mentor of mine back in college, Dr. Lawrence Holcomb. And I remember the day that I wrote a paper that I needed to be okay with living in the gray. And it was similar feeling to realizing not everything is black and white. It's not everything is political. It's not always Fox and CNN. There's a lot of room between that and life. And I've learned that as now as an adult, as a TV host, and especially as a father. I think probably the most important thing that I often teach my son is it's okay for me to say I don't know, and it's okay for him to say I don't know. With that I don't know, curiosity comes, and we can go figure out what a better answer is than I don't know. But starting off from that place of humility is pretty basic, and I think that leads into your specific question about emotional connections. I had someone about 2 or 3 months ago tell me in an interview for a job, they told me that their currency in life was courage. And I said, wow, that's interesting. I love how they say their currency, what it is that they barter with and why people hire them or work with them. And I think my currency is probably vulnerability. And that is, that's a very close cousin to emotional connections, and also pretty close to saying, I don't know.
Yes. Well, and from my point of view, it takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable,
Mm,
many times to admit that we don't know or that we don't have an answer.
mm, yeah,
So you mentioned in the article that emotional connections are made when you are vulnerable.
mm,
Was the vulnerability of the caregivers you interviewed that's made the documentary so powerful?
I agree.
So you cite Phil, is it Scalo,
Scalo, yeah.
the chair of AHCA, as one of the most accurate depictions of the caregiver-resident relationship. Okay, tell us what AHCA stands for.
American Healthcare Association is the most important association in the United States. It has members from all 50 states, one of them being Nebraska Healthcare Association, which is the association that helped make this become a reality. So when the chair of the board from the most important association went to the premiere of the documentary and then gave me his testimonial as this being one of the most authentic depictions of anything that he'd seen in long-term care, that was one of the greatest compliments that I could ever receive. He's been in this industry almost for 3 decades and is considered to be a thought leader, and getting that feedback of human feedback, right? Like it's not about the numbers, or it's not about the quality of the care. It's about portraying the face of the caregivers, and that he felt that we did that justice. That was important for me. I would add to it, that's beautiful to hear from a professional point of view, because I admire his work and Aka's work. My father was at the premiere with me, along with my mom and my wife and my 8-year-old son. And my father told me about an hour after the premiere that it was one of the most beautiful things that he had participated in. So to see my father live or experience what I was trying to do. All of my previous TV work has always been in Spanish, and my parents don't speak Spanish. So, 95% of my life as a creator, my family has not been able to appreciate, my parents at least, or my brother. They haven't been able to appreciate. So to leave a little bit of that legacy for people that marked my life, which are my grandparents, my dad's parents, and have that feedback from him was touching for me.
Oh gosh, it must have been deeply gratifying to hear that from your family, your father in particular.
Mm.
You were once advised to not get emotionally attached for those for whom you care. Why did you ignore that advice?
I remember getting that advice. I believe the first time back when I was working as an HIV/AIDS caseworker for a homeless population. My first job out of college was that. And I think that advice came from a social worker who was trying to prepare me to last as long as I could as a caseworker. And I think that while there were good intentions there, the reason that I believe that I ended up ignoring that is because work has to be win-win, I believe, for it to be lasting and to have a lasting impact. For me, at least the way that I approach my life or humanity is the importance for everyone to be understood and everyone to be connected. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't allow myself to to look for that deeper connection. And I think that that's probably, on the downside, it's probably when I've dealt with mental illness and with depression. But on the positive side, it's the reason that I'm happy to be alive and I'm happy to be a dad and a son and a husband. It makes the flavors of life, the senses of life, the colors of life, that much more enjoyable.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly, and I'm so glad you ignored that advice. In my impression from reading the article, you feel a calling to shine a light on people's stories that show the value of their work. I I imagine from what you're saying that this is a very gratifying passion for you. It has a great deal of meaning. For those of you who are watching this video, you can follow Peter's work on his website. It's strategicpete.com. That's strategicpete.com. And the docuseries we've been talking about is on YouTube. It's called People Worth Caring About. I admire your work, Peter, and I'm so glad I got to speak with you today. Please keep up your good work.
I appreciate it, Nancy. One of my goals for 2025 is to do this in 3 more states in long-term care and then move to another industry. I would like to move into education, maybe mining, maybe farming, maybe cancer research. I want to show people stories through their passion for work. So thank you so much for your coverage and for your interview, Nancy.
Oh, it's a privilege to meet you and a privilege to hear about the work that you're doing. Thank you again, and I hope you have a very successful new year, 2025 coming up, and with the successful outcome of the gosh, I'm tongue-tied with the
Don't worry.
with the professions that you're thinking about exploring. Sounds like a wonderful goal.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.